allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're bringing the meeting to order. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 10th meeting as presented by the clerk.
I'll second that.
And there's the special meeting you had on the 31st also minutes. We'll add that to that.
Cover that.
Councilor Trombley made a motion that the minutes of the 1/10/2011 organizational town board meeting be approved along with the special meeting on January 31st. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
This time we'll open up the floor to public comment, and since there's no one here, we'll close the public comment session. We do have a guest tonight from AT&T who would like to address the board. Mr. Woodward?
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Give you a copy as well to review. As many of you are already aware of, my name is Stephen Woodward. I represent AT&T Wireless. Many of you are aware that last Monday, the town received an application from AT&T to co-locate an existing Verizon tower. The next day, on Tuesday, I received a call from Frank Slycourt, the building officer, and he asked AT&T to basically look at the town water tank as an option to basically put their antennas instead of the existing Verizon tower. AT&T has looked at that, and that is my presentation before you tonight. Basically, I had AT&T's RF or radio frequency engineers do some computer simulations and models to look at the coverage and compare it to what the coverage would be with the Verizon tower compared to what the Verizon or the Chazy water tank would provide. You have in front of you a written documentation as to which site would work the best, and also coverage maps that coincide with that written description. Long story short, the existing Verizon tower that AT&T is looking to co-locate on will provide 30% more coverage to the area that they're looking to cover, and will also connect both to the north and the south with the existing sites already on air in Champlain and in Beacontown. Just to give everyone an idea, the first slide here kind of shows the existing towers, sites that AT&T has on air currently. There's this one down here in Beacontown, Ram's Hill. You've got this one up here, they call it Plattsburgh 2. Even though it's nowhere near Plattsburgh, that's the site name they have for it. There's one up here in Champlain that's on air. They've got one here across the lake in Vermont. And of course they've got the one down here in Beacontown right along 87. AT&T's main objective with this site is to provide increased in-car coverage up and down 87. As well as obviously providing in-house, in-building coverage to residents along Route 9, some of the other roads, and obviously some of the homes and cottages along Lake Champlain. The first slide in here, in your package, after the terrain one, it shows a map showing the existing coverage without either the water tank site or the Verizon site. It's labeled existing coverage. It shows the coverage that you get with Beacontown, Plattsburgh, Champlain, etc. Just to give you an idea as to what all the color blotches mean. The green and yellows are going to be your in-building, in-home, in-business coverage. That means you could be in a home, you could be in a basement, and you're going to have the ability to make a call and you won't get cut off. You're not going to lose the signal, etc. Your orange or lighter red is going to be your in-car coverage. Some of these areas here, it's a little hard to tell between the red and the light red or orangish, but that middle color in there is going to be your in-car coverage, meaning that you'll be in your car driving, you can make a safe, reliable call, you're not going to get disconnected, you're not going to lose the signal if you go up or down a hill, etc., go around a curve. Your red, and then of course the black, you can see some of the black out here. The red means on a crystal clear, nice sunny day, unlike tonight, outside, maybe in your car as well, you'll be able to make a phone call. There'll be 1-2 bars. Obviously, one of the biggest effects that affect a coverage with your cell phone are going to be leaves. So obviously during the winter months when there's no leaves on the trees, you're going to be able to make a call a little better than you are in the middle of summer, just because the signal cannot go through the leaves. You also notice that where Lake Champlain is, all these maps are going to show big bright spots of greens and yellows, and just it's going to light up the lake like a Christmas tree. That is because there's obviously no trees, there's nothing to block the signal, and with the water, the signal bounces and it just goes forever. So that's why you're going to see a lot of this areas in all these maps out here is greens and yellows. Your third map is going to show the coverage that AT&T is going to get when they install at the Verizon location at 130 feet. You can see on this map that it's going to connect both going north along 87 to the existing site in Champlain, and to the south it's going to connect with Beacontown. The Beacontown site is 7.7 miles from the Verizon site, and it's 6.6 miles from the Champlain. So it's pretty centrally located in a great area to not overlap coverage, not provide double coverage to what both other sites are already providing, but it's going to connect very nicely and provide safe, reliable coverage all the way up and down 87. Your next slide is obviously the coverage with the Chazy water tank only. As you can see, the Chazy water tank is located about 2.3 miles to the north of the existing Verizon tower. So it's much farther north, and will duplicate some coverage that the Champlain site is already covering. The Chazy water tank is about 4 miles from the Champlain site, and it is 10 miles from the Beacontown. On these maps, you're going to see down between Beacontown and the Champlain, the Chazy water tank, that you've got a lot more reds filled in down here versus the Verizon, where it's that orange or light red. So you've got about a mile stretch on 87 that is not going to provide that reliable coverage as the Verizon tower. And that basically is a cause of the location. of the Chazy water tank. It has nothing to do with the height, it has to do with the closeness and proximity it is to the Champlain site, which we already have coverage, and how far away it is from the Beekmantown site. We would have to go extremely, extremely high to get rid of that gap, and it may not be, it may be far enough away from Beekmantown that no matter what height you go, you're still not going to close in that coverage gap. Along 87, which is RF's main objective on covering this site. The next two slides is a comparison between what's the existing coverage, red, the coverage added by the Verizon site, and the coverage added by the water tank. It's a little confusing, but you have to look at what the coverage objective is, negative 74 dBm and negative 84 dBm. That's the signal quality. And if you go back here, the negative 74 is your yellow in building, in-house, and your negative 84 is your orangish in car. So when looking at these slides, it's good to note that your first one is talking about in-building coverage. All the green in here is added in-building, in-home coverage in this area that the Verizon tower is going to cover that the water tank will not. That's a lot of homes and businesses, other places along the lake and stuff that's going to get added coverage that the water tank won't provide. Conversely, the water tank does have an area to the north, closer to Champlain, that site would provide some more coverage to homes, businesses, etc., that the Verizon site wouldn't. But as you can see in the comparison, there's a lot more down to the south that you would get coverage from than to the north. When looking at the next slide, your negative 84, or your in-car, again, the green is the added coverage provided by the Verizon tower versus the Chazy water tank. As you can see, the red up here and down here is going to cover pretty much the entire stretch of 87. The Chazy water tank will get a little bit extra in-car coverage along these roads here that the Verizon site won't. But then conversely, the greens down in this area is going to be the added in-car coverage that you'll get. And as you can see, it's going to fill in that stretch of 87 between the Beekmantown site and the Champlain, where there's the spotty in-car coverage existing. And then just your last slide in that package just shows the propagation that only the Verizon tower itself would cover, and that takes out all the other existing sites and the water tank, just to give everyone an idea of what this site by itself would provide. And that's basically what AT&T has come up with, and it's AT&T's position that they would like to co-locate on the Verizon tower, and would like the town to approve moving the application to the planning board. We feel that as this is an existing tower, obviously there's 3 other carriers already on there who've been approved by the town, that AT&T is not asking for anything more than what the town's already provided to these 3 carriers. So, if there's any questions, comments, concerns? Anybody?
A lot of that area you're showing blue is, what do you call it, forest or wooded?
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
It's not a heavily populated area.
no, no. And this is the area that AT&T was looking at when they first, I guess, put the site out there to get coverage. And a lot of their customer complaints that they get in center around this area and obviously up and down 87. AT&T's goal for 2010, 2011, and 2012, along with a lot of other carriers, is to fill in a lot of that missing coverage along 87, especially as you get in the Adirondack Park. I'm working on 3 other sites myself. I'm going to 2 of them tomorrow after my meeting tonight in Lewis and North Hudson. Just because everyone, I'm sure, going up and down 87, you see those signs, next 65 miles, no cell phone coverage. There's every 2 miles there's a payphone by the road. So there's been too many accidents and too many public complaints over the years that carriers are now trying to fight the park to basically get coverage along 87. And once we fill in that coverage gap, to start moving into the rest of the park, some of the other roads that are more frequently traveled. So yeah, you're definitely right. The area along 87 is not very well developed, as is most places along 87. Obviously, the shoreline of Lake Champlain and Route 9 here, the Green Road, is the more heavily populated area, for sure.
And another thing I noted, if you're sitting in the parking lot in Champlain at the mall, and the tower's right close by, you're unable to call out on a normal, you have to dial
I think when you get close to the borders, you're in roaming. And you're
it.
sometimes.
You're on roaming
You're
all the time.
you're actually beaming off Canadian towers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you pick up,
Yeah.
you pick up French, a lot of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, it's because when you get close to the Canadian border, US towers are not allowed to shoot their signal across the border. So they have to turn all their antennas towards the US. So yeah, if you're sitting on the
So-
proper side, you're.
So why does
right.
it miss Champlain then?
It could just be the way that the antennas are turned. Because if they were to turn those antennas too much, it would shoot across the border, and that would not be good.
But if you get down the road about 1.5 miles, where you're opposite the tower,
Yeah,
it'll go through it.
yeah. I mean, I'm not very familiar with the whole area, so I couldn't tell you, specifics. But I can just tell you that depending on how those antennas are turned, can certainly affect coverage. Because most towers, like you can see from these maps here, the Beacontown, Rancho, Plattsburgh, the antennas are located, there's normally 6, sometimes up to as many as 12 on the tower. And they're in 3 different locations, and the antennas shoot out for a 360-degree direction. So it tries to do a nice circle. Well, if you get this site too close to the Canadian border, you can't shoot out the antennas 360 degrees because you'll be shooting across the border. So you have to basically only shoot out to the south, a little bit out over here towards the east, and of course out towards the west. So depending on what road you are or how close you are to that tower, you may be missing the signal.
And our water tower from their existing tower is how far, 2 miles? Is that what you said?
2.3.
2.3 miles?
It's, the existing Verizon tower is 2.3 miles south of your water tank. We already have this site in Champlain that is only about 4.4 miles from your water tank, and that would just provide too much of an overlap. and leave this area down here between Beekman and the water tower uncovered, both in car and in building and in home.
Bill, do you have any comments?
No.
I mean, obviously, our intention is, it was good, I mean, we portrayed to them that we wanted to possibly use our water tower, as that's our new wall that we have. And Westgate could come up with a convincing argument for not using it, and I think he's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, it wasn't to require that it be, located on a water tower or other town-owned property. It was just to have it first considered, which it seems they've done a very good job at doing. And it would appear that there's a good business decision behind what they're
I'm not
seeking to
convinced
do.
that they can't make that work on our water tower.
Is there a big price difference in installing on an existing tower versus putting it on our?
That's why we
That's
don't
what I
want
thought.
it.
Yes,
And it's not that you can't make it work on the water tower, because I bet you could turn up, have higher decibels or whatever for,
no, we can't turn it up. AT&T, along with Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, any carrier who is selling a wireless phone has to purchase from the federal government a license. And they can only, the antennas and the frequencies they shoot up from those antennas have to match the purchased frequency. So you can't just turn up to a higher frequency or turn down to a lower frequency, because you may be interfering with someone else's already purchased frequency, whether it be another carrier or, far worse, the federal government, the Plattsburgh Airport, municipal frequency, fire department, E911, something like that. So you can't just, unfortunately, you can't just turn up or turn down your frequency levels because the government will come and get you and shut you down, for sure.
Because in my experience, there's probably about a 1/2 to 3/4 mile stretch on Route 9 and on the North Where you lose signal from AT&T. And coming 4 miles from Champlain would certainly cover that gap.
now, there's no possible way they could make it work with a water tower? I mean, are they looking at the expense because it's gonna cost them more for antennas and the other equipment that needs to go rather than using the existing?
Well, obviously, if you take away the fact that this tower is more centrally located, will provide better coverage to customers of AT&T, et cetera. If you're talking about just from a construction point of view, obviously, it's going to be 2-3 times more expensive for AT&T to go on the water tank because it's not built for cell phone use right now. We'd have to do all the due diligence, the environmental surveys with the federal government to make sure this water tank is in compliance, et cetera. We'd have to buy special mounts and special equipment to install on the water tank. And then, obviously, all the ground equipment, fencing, all that sort of stuff. Whereas the Verizon tower is already existing, all we're doing is throwing up antennas, lines, it's already existing use. We're put down our ground equipment and be on our way. The other added expense is if AT&T was forced to go on this tank, we need another site down here somewhere, because there's customers along 87 and in homes and stuff down here that we'd have to put some other site down here. So you'd be looking at the added expense of a whole nother site, and as you're right, as a business decision, that's just not something that AT&T is looking at doing. Why spend 2-3 times the amount of money when we can do everything we need with an existing tower right here? So it's kind of both the coverage is a lot better with the Verizon tower, and obviously if you're just speaking from a business point of view, It's a lot cheaper to go on something that's already built to hold antennas, rather than something that we would have to specifically design, a whole redesign, to put our antennas on this water tank.
But the problem that I have with that is if we elect for you to go to the existing site rather than our water tower, the town's gonna lose revenue.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way around that, quite honestly. Until, I think it was, August 2010 when that new law was adopted. The first priority was to go on existing towers. When AT&T started their initial search for a site in this area, was back in the middle of 2009, early 2010. The first priority was to co-locate on an existing tower. So it wasn't until we actually went through the whole process of doing all the due diligence on this existing tower, got a lease with Verizon, got that started, and submitted our application to the town, and we then found out that the first priority had changed to town property. But even if the town law was in place back then when we started, we still would have gone back to this existing tower that I believe Verizon, Sprint, and Nextel are already on. It's a pretty good site because obviously there's existing sites in Beacontown and Champlain. And I can't speak for Verizon or Sprint or Nextel on what their coverage is, but obviously if there's 3 carriers on this and we're going to be the 4th, it's a pretty well located site.
So the way you're talking, you're gonna have quite a savings by going on your existing tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
Are you gonna forward a percentage of that savings onto the customers?
I'm not sure if cell phone bills are going to be cut in the future, but I will tell you that obviously if AT&T saves on this site here, that'll open up more room in the budget for additional sites in New York State where they need coverage. So, I mean, there's no company out there that's going to pass on savings directly to the customer if they make good business decisions. In this economy, I just don't see that.
It's like the oil company.
Yeah, I mean, I just read last week that ExxonMobil had their biggest profit ever in the first quarter, and gas prices are $3.30, $3.40, and they're talking about the summer it could go up as high as $5 a gallon. So I don't see Exxon passing on savings to their customers.
Just a question, I
Yeah.
figured that was the answer.
No, look, every market, and I work in the upstate New York market, I have sites all over the state of New York. They get every year from the corporate office at AT&T down in Georgia, they get a set budget. Here's the money that you can spend to develop new sites. Upgrade existing sites, meaning sites that only have 2G coverage, you can upgrade to 3G. That means you can get your internet, text messages, data, stream videos on your phone, all that sort of stuff is what's called 3G. This is a set amount of money you can do it. And depending on the budget and how much each site costs, that depends on how many sites you can develop in a year. So if we make smart business decisions with each site that we develop, we can develop more sites. So it'll be passed on to the customer in that sense by providing better coverage to AT&T customers.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your presentation.
Yep. What's the next step?
We just have to discuss, if we agree with what your philosophy is, with, going forward with you using the other tower compared to ours.
Something we should do now, or?
Yeah, we can, I mean, we might as well do it now while he's here, and then we can,
But doesn't have to go, isn't the planning board involved? in this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I
we-
think,
Isn't what he's looking for tonight, is what, how the board feels about it?
Right.
No,
was-
I don't think that we should act without the planning board meeting.
consent.
I
Right.
mean,
No, that's
they
not
make
why I'm
recommendations
here,
to
no.
us, right.
No, I came to this meeting tonight to basically get the town board's approval to use the Verizon tower instead of the town water tank, town property, and to move our application to the planning board for their review of the rest of the cell tower law, the site plan,
So we do have.
all of that stuff. And also too, this application needs to go before the county, for their review. So, that's the only thing I'm looking for, is that the approval that we can move the application on to the next step.
Planning
Which
board-
would be the
The
planning
planning
board.
board
They
does
have to
it
present it
first,
to us.
and then they present.
No, because we changed our law, we changed our rule, correct?
or,
We changed our rule after these other companies have gone on to this.
Yeah, but it still goes to the planning board
The planning board
first,
is the
and then the
first
planning
step.
board would make their recommendation to us to go
I didn't
ahead.
know this was gonna come up tonight, but if somebody's got the local law, if I could just, do you have a copy of it? Susan?
we'll get a copy of it. Basically, it just states that whoever wants to put in a cell tower has to consider our site first.
Consider our first.
But if it doesn't, you know, if they have a good argument that it is not gonna work,
Right, I understand that part, but what he's looking for as far as is the town board decision to say, fine, locate on wherever.
Or just to pass it on to the planning board.
Right.
Right. If it's not up to the town board to make a decision on that, and then we're,
well, it's eventually gonna end up with us anyway.
Right.
Right.
They're
okay.
gonna go
Ordinarily-
with the town
ordinarily-
copies.
We're
Right,
superseding
his question is
them.
whether or not
I
we
think
have
we're
to
stepping
approve
on
it
their toes.
first,
I
not
agree with you.
approve,
Right.
just give permission to not use.
They have them for a
the
reason.
tower.
That's
I
right.
think what we
Because
usually
it's
do
in
is,
our laws.
is act on the recommendation of the planning board.
Right, after we give
And
them
then that's
permission to.
when we make our decision.
Because the planning board would have to have a public hearing on it, you know, all that good stuff. Then it's like,
I thought the process was it went to the planning board and then came to us.
You wanna go with
Yeah, I think that
the
was-
rest of your things before?
Okay, we'll have him review that. and
No
get
problem.
back to you.
This was just the amendment, Leo, where's the full? Is that what I have the procedures in, this just talks about? This was just the amendment. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start off tonight, and then we'll go around this way, if you don't mind.
I
for the regular-
would just say that I honestly, just having all this thrown at us tonight, I don't feel comfortable making a decision on it tonight myself. That's my own opinion. I had no idea that they were coming or. That's my
Actually, this
opinion.
all started coming to us last Monday, I believe.
Right.
It was brought to my attention for the first time, and when
Right.
Frank came in a
So-
couple days and was asking questions, and that's when I
Right.
brought up to him that we have.
So in a
a
week,
local
I
law.
don't think that we should be expected to be able to give a decision to somebody being here tonight,
We might not have to, because the planning board has to do it first, so.
but that's my own opinion.
Yeah, we get, till Leo gets his,
All right, so we'll move on to other items. First of all, I'd like to thank the highway department. I know Dick's not here tonight, but I know that they've had a tough winter, lots of snow, and they've been doing a great job. Just want to say thank you to all the highway staff for a great job. Actually, they're out tonight. It's a very difficult night, and we appreciate them keeping all the Chazy roads clear. Just to let everybody know that we have been notified that the bridge on the Minor Farm Road going to the highway department is gonna be reconstructed. They're taking soil samples now and doing what they have to do in preparation. It's gonna be reconstructed in 2014. So just to let everybody know in case anybody has questions, I did have a call
Now, is that
asking why people were up there.
the one that goes over the?
Yes. Yeah, the state highway.
so they're gonna,
The one on the Minor Farm Road going toward the highway.
So it's just gonna be what? one
It's gonna be
night?
reconstructed. in
exit
2014.
41,
oh, the, over the interstate.
Yes, the interstate over.
exit 41.
So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention in case.
What year are they gonna start?
2014,
That's when they're starting.
yes.
2018 completion.
2020.
What's that? Oh, I just want to thank the highway department for a great job for snow removal during the winter. We have been notified by the county that our voting machines, old voting machines, we have a few different options for them. We can give them to the school, offer them to the school, which I have. Or we can scrap them and take the money for scrap, but we have to let the county know that they're being scrapped and when we did scrap them, or we can turn them over to the county and they can scrap them. So I've notified the school that we have voting machines available. Nancy is trying to find out if they want to accept one or two of them or all of them, and she's gonna get back to me.
Did you call the other schools?
The only one I called was Chazy. I figured every town was gonna probably be doing the same thing. If the school doesn't take them, we'll have to discuss which we wanna go as far as us scrapping them and taking the money, or what we wanna do with them. But just to let you know that we have to, one way or another, get rid of them. Because they're not gonna be used anymore. Our finalized election cost for this year was $7,911. We did get an $1,800 refund from the county.
So this is after the $1,800?
That was after. We did budget 20-some thousand dollars for the coming year. But I just wanted to let you know how much the election costs have gone up.
How much for this year did you budget?
We didn't budget enough because we didn't know about it until
After the fact.
a few
It's too
months
late.
before the budget process,
No,
so.
I'm saying for 2011.
Oh, 23,000, I believe it was, that we budgeted,
Okay.
if I'm right. I don't remember exactly. I know it was 20-some thousand dollars.
Something.
So we're gonna be okay for this year. I just wanted to let you know what the final cost was. I do have a letter from our new codes officer, Frank Slyford, and to purchase the software that he wanted. And he is recommending that we go with the BAS system. And I'm trying to find it here. Okay, here it is. He's recommending that we go with the BAS Business Automated Services System. All software programs, just to let us know what it does, it creates and tracks building permits, variances, violation notices, appearance, tickets, along with other permits. It creates certificate of compliance, certificate of occupancy, stop work orders, along with reminder reports relative to all open permits, etc., and it will integrate with the tax assessor's tax map information via the network.
Now, was
So-
this one of the,
One of the three that we went out for quotes.
that, what's her name?
Yeah, Veronica,
Veronica was working on?
correct. The total cost is $5,995.
Is that
But we
installed?
didn't budget for that, did we? This year we didn't.
We have,
I
what,
thought we took it
no.
out of the budget.
No, actually, what we would be doing is taking it out of, what did you tell me, the capital
Yeah,
equipment,
equipment.
equipment capital reserve fund. We have approximately 34,000 in that account. So that would be coming out of that, which basically you would still have to go out, 30 days for public referendum. But we would like to, get that purchased and going if we can, and we have a resolution tonight that will further discuss that if anybody has any questions.
Does this cover installment and training?
I believe it does, I'm not guaranteed, but I know that when they got the quotes, that it said that it did
Okay.
have a person coming here doing the installation and training them how to use it. I know all three quotes did that.
Is Frank familiar with this?
Yes,
Okay.
that's why
So
he's
he
used it
uses
before, and
Okay.
My own personal opinion is we cut it out of the budget for a reason, and I don't think that, we should move forward with it at this point.
We have money in the
Reserve.
reserves for that purpose, you know, to purchase obviously items like this. And I mean,
But we're
I
early in the
personally-
year, there could be other purchases that we may have to make as well.
I mean, everything right now, Chris, is done manually.
That's gonna save so much time.
I mean, she's trying to create programs where she can, you know, try to look things up a lot easier than having stacks and stacks of papers, and everything is done by paper. And we need to get into the 21st century, as far as I'm concerned, as far as computerizing, so that all this stuff is on computers and.
And I'm not saying,
Yes,
that
they
I
want
disagree
that.
with that, but I'm saying is, I mean, with everything that we went through with our budget and the crunches and everything, is this the right time to bring it up?
But I think,
That's the question that I'm,
I think
It's
you take
brought up.
into
It's not gonna affect the
consideration,
budget at all, this is money.
no, but I'm saying we originally had this in the budget and we decided, I mean, all of us as a board
No,
decided
no,
that we were
this
gonna
is,
cut it out.
this wasn't in the budget.
We never put this in the budget.
We never put this in the budget.
Right, but when they
Yes.
came to us with those 3 different proposals, we decided at that time not to do it, so we didn't budget for it,
Right, that's,
because we decided that we weren't going to do it.
Why was
When
the
Veronica
reason-
brought us those 3 proposals,
What was the reason we weren't gonna do it? I don't remember that.
to help keep our budget down this
well, I
year.
think you also have to remember that our former code enforcement officer really wasn't very computer literate, and we now have one that is. And when you look at all that this program does,
And I'm
it
not,
would
I'm
save
not
so much
saying that,
time
I'm
and
not saying
money,
that this is
even money without having to have someone manually do it. Plus, it's going to keep the assessor informed of anything, any new buildings. It's all tied in together, and to me, it's one feeding off another, and everybody gets the information that they need to do their job. So for this amount of money, I'm
Is he
thinking, you know,
keeping
it's
Veronica?
worth the
Right now, he
expenditure
is.
to,
But not, that's, well, that's another stuff.
That's another side, okay.
That's the only thing that I was questioning.
I mean, we have money in this capital reserve fund that we put a little bit in every year, it's like a savings account, basically. Usually we do it when we get sales tax. We're not getting sales tax this year, but hopefully next year if we do, we'll throw a little bit more money in there to keep it at a certain level, but, there's no sense in having money in these reserve funds if we don't use it to better ourselves. Try to upgrade our equipment and try to make things a lot more efficient, and that's my opinion, I mean.
Like a few years ago, one of the auditors thought that we should be using some of those,
yeah, I remember
that
that.
money because we were carrying too much.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
Isn't it?
they rode me for that. And that was on there.
That's
They
the
were-
purpose of a capital reserve, is to have money to spend when something like this comes up that you can purchase, or a new piece of equipment for the general fund, like typewriter or
Yeah.
a computer or something like that. But, so it doesn't affect your budget, you don't have to
Right.
raise your budget or anything for it.
Right now, everything is done so manually that if Pat wants to go find out if there's a certificate of occupancy on a home, with this system, she'll be able to just click from her desk and find out. Right now, she's gotta walk over to his office and he's gotta dig through files and files to find out if he ever issued one. There's no real record keeping, I mean, everything's in paper form right now. Be a lot easier, I mean, as you know in business, that if you wanna look something up in a hurry, it's click, 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 and you find out in a second, but.
And I'm not disagreeing with that, I'm, by any means, I'm just
now are these
questioning.
new quotes, or is this a new quote?
This was
or
an
is
existing,
is-
this was an existing quote that we were waiting for Frank to look over, because he was the new codes officer,
So,
and which one he's had
Do
experience
we
with.
know if that's even current? If that
It
price
says
is still?
updated February 8th, 2011.
Yes. This is the current rate, according to Frank, that he gave me the other day. But again, we have a resolution for this tonight, so,
So,
I mean, if there's more discussion, we can, I just wanted to let you know that we do have the recommendation from Frank. I did send out the contract today for ADIA, actually I dropped it off, for our engineering agreement to do the salt storage shed for us. Our, 30 days was up, so I did sign that and get it out. I got a letter from Janet Dupree today stating that our CHIPS money is going to be staying about the same as last year. So there won't be any decrease in CHIP funding for highway department plowing, or doing roads, I should say. So that's good news. Also, nothing to make a decision on tonight, but we were talking the other day about, with the high snow drifts and especially trying to clean out around our fire hydrants and the pumping stations, that it might be a good idea to get a snow blower for one of our tractor lawnmowers that we have, so that we can get at those areas easier. Right now, all Tom has is the snow plow on the front of the tractor. Otherwise, Dick has to come down with a backhoe and dig it out. We don't really have a machine that would get in on the high, when we have high snow like this. So, we were just talking about maybe getting a snow blower attachment for one of our lawnmowers so we can snow blow around them. So I'm getting some quotes. Just to let everybody know, and we can discuss that at another meeting. I mean, it's just an idea that, Tom thought was a great idea, and I do too. It's just a matter of how much they are, and see if the board is willing to purchase one. It's very difficult right now to clean out the fire hydrants and the pumping stations with so much snow. And I think that's all I have. I just want to go through that. Bucket, would you have anything, or
We wanna go to.
where do you want to go?
You wanna go to
So
Bill?
We don't keep him waiting on.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. This is all within the planning board, I don't really see any decision to move this application by this town board. If it was submitted to the board, to the town board, it should just be referred over to the planning board. There's not really a decision to be made, it just needs to go to the planning board.
Yeah, it was originally submitted to the planning board.
And what did they do? Did they submit it back here or send it back?
No, Frank gave me a call on Tuesday and said you need to go to the town board first and get their decision on the town property.
Yeah, it's not provided for in there, it just talks about doing what you did tonight, honestly, explaining it to the planning board. And they can refer it to other committees or get a consultant if they need to see, what you're saying is accurate, but it's all within the planning board. It may be a little confusing if somebody's looking at it because board is used throughout the law, but it's a defined term. It says board shall be the planning board
Yeah.
of the town of Chazy. So that's really where you need to be, and that's part of the application, is just setting forth, considering the other sites, or
Right.
town property sites first. And if you're not picking one of those sites, proposing one of those sites, the reasons why, or AT&T doesn't feel that that's an appropriate site.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yep. So,
so Frank can let you know when the next
planning board
planning board meeting is. It's usually on a Monday night.
Yeah.
You might want to come up and do another presentation to them.
Yeah, when I originally talked to him, he had mentioned that they were gonna send it to the county first to get their recommendation, and then, they get the county recommendation back to the planning board, so that they could have that on the first meeting, when the planning board, when I go before them. So, does the planning board have to refer it back to the town board, or, no? Okay.
The site plan is a decision with them.
Right, yeah, everything's with them, okay. Alright, so he was mentioning something about March would be the next planning board meeting, because they would send it to the county first,
Right.
get it back, so, alright,
You may want to attend the county planning board too. You have a right to go to that meeting.
yeah, okay,
It's just because that, many times they may have some questions that, unless the applicant's there,
yeah,
they're left with not being able to make a decision or no referral.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, very good.
Thank you.
So you don't have to drive very far.
No,
It's back to Plattsburgh.
no, just going back to Plattsburgh.
One other thing too, I forgot to mention that, we've been notified that we're not getting any sales tax revenue again this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to a meeting on Wednesday for the supervisors, and they're gonna kind of explain why, and not good news again, but
How short are we gonna be?
I don't know yet, I haven't been notified of
We
that.
didn't count on any sales.
No, we budgeted zero on the budget,
Zero.
but
Well, we're getting the sales tax money, we're just not getting an extra.
we're not getting any sales tax.
No, we're getting, we get what the county is telling us we're gonna get. We're just not getting that 13th check,
Yeah.
right?
We got zero last year.
We ain't getting
No, extra.
extra.
He's talking about extra.
We're getting
He's
what,
talking about the part.
we're getting what the
I
county,
know
The
what you're
county
saying, yeah.
budgeted for
yes.
us.
Right,
We always.
yeah, we get nothing
Right,
extra,
we get nothing extra.
Right.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
right. But,
So it's a bad, quarter.
last year, we got zero, this year we're getting zero.
Right.
They're gonna explain on Wednesday why, and
We owe them too much.
Cause they,
no, we don't, they didn't bill us for last year.
They forgive it, Tom said.
yeah, that's the part I was asking, how
Well,
short.
if
I don't know.
we're gonna get a
Yeah.
payment,
They
then they
didn't
can
Haven't
have that
told-
payment.
haven't told us.
So our account goes back to zero.
Okay, what do you have tonight, anything, or?
I'll keep it short, nothing on the plant? No, the
What?
research center?
Nothing. Not looking good. On the Pfizer building.
Right. Did you check with Bob on, restoring the old, historic?
I did talk to him about it.
Yeah.
I told him
He's
that
gonna check
we,
into it.
we had discussed in the meeting, and,
Nothing doing the sewer plant?
just waiting for the drawings to get stamped. Mr. Mosier has them right now, and, Tim Ryan is working with him to finalize it and get them stamped, and, he advised me that there's gonna be a small fee for, obviously, his stamping of the prints, but after that, we're ready to go.
JCO, did they fill that position?
They were hoping to have somebody within the next week, they said. I talked to Mrs. Susie, Susha? Souza, okay.
Okay.
And, they were interviewing, actually, the day I called her, they were interviewing 2 more people, local people, she said. So hopefully they'll have somebody very, very soon. But they do have it covered. I did ask her if it was still being covered, and she said yes. They have internal people that are going there and providing services, so it's still being manned.
Very good. Mark Rogers on the Ingraham Road, that you had a letter in our packet. What's the final,
I didn't get even a chance to talk to Dick on how he thought we should proceed on it, but I wanna talk to him and see how much further we wanna go on it. I mean, he said in the letter that we have some options that we can do, and I wanna just see what he thinks about it, and then we'll bring it to the board for the next meeting. I thought Dick would be here tonight, and I wanted to discuss that, but we'll have to do it at the next meeting.
and this one is just curiosity on the Riverside Cemetery.
Okay, what's happening there is,
Is that minor foundation?
no, it's the Riverside Committee that's doing the cutting of the brush. There was some comments made, thinking that it was against DEC regulations for what they were doing, but DEC went down and saw what they were doing, and they're not doing anything illegal. The only time that it's illegal or they have a problem is if you put actual machinery in the water that might be emitting oils or anything like that. But as far as cutting trees down or limbs,
Well, we,
it's not against
you
their
know,
law, and they actually went down and saw the site, and they're fine with it.
you know, we acted on something, and maybe we should look that up again. Maybe Leo can remember. And about cutting trees in the riverbank.
You know, I talked to.
That was outside, and that was through DEC, and we,
I talked to DEC when we pulled that log out near on,
right,
River Street, is it River Street? And because I had some people call questioning if it was okay for us to do that, and I called DEC, I said, look, we're just removing a big branch that's fallen in the water, and they said, that's no problem at all, as long as you don't put anything in the water that's emitting any oils or anything like that. If you wanna cut it off and there's some sawdust that goes in the river, that's not a problem. And if you're pulling it out, that's not a problem. As long as nothing goes in the water itself.
but I know we did something when, back when Dutch was on the board, right, Kathy?
Refresh my memory.
About cutting trees on the riverbank.
Well, to make a long story short.
But anyway,
The DEC went down there, and
Yeah,
they're
all right.
fine with what they've done, and
no, I'm
it's
just
their
curious.
land and their trees, they can do what they want, I guess.
Okay, very good. That's it.
Kathy?
I just have one thing now, the painting of the crossing lines up near the post office that, Chris had mentioned the last time. Did we do anything with that?
Yeah, it's all done, it's been painted, the
No,
state
not the
came in
post
and.
office.
Oh, the post office.
Post office.
Oh,
Crossing, remember how we thought, didn't that go beyond the post office? We thought we-
I have not contacted them about that, but I'll thank you for reminding me. So, from the post office sidewalk, just across, in front of,
On the opposite,
No, further down.
further down.
well, as long as you get beyond where the post office is, where
Oh, from, like,
people aren't crossing, where people are trying to back out and go in and out of the post office.
okay,
And the sidewalk
It
ends
would
where
be-
Dick Boyd used to live,
right?
and the sidewalk ends there.
It would involve putting in new sidewalks, that's what it's going to involve too, on our part.
Which
How
side
far
of the
down
road
would
is
you
it,
go
to
down?
make sure I'm clear? On the opposite side of the road of the post office?
Right.
And from what point to what point from,
Well, right now, you can only go to that little side street, not into that little side street,
Pleasant Street.
Pleasant Street. And there's no more sidewalks, you have to
It
cross.
should be up by Fuzzy Blair's, in that area, from Fuzzy's down.
I think there's sidewalk in front of Fuzzy's. isn't
Right,
there?
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Pleasant
there's-
Street, yes.
Right, yeah, that's what I said, that
The board,
Yes.
on that side, the sidewalk ends where
I
Dick
think that's
Boyd
where you're
used to
talking
live.
about putting a crossing right there, with the sidewalks, there's one.
you're talking about crossing, no, or a whole new sidewalk?
We were talking about a crossing beyond, coming towards the town hall, beyond the post office, because people come in and out, in and out.
Across from
It's
old
a
Hazen's
business
old
area.
house.
Crossing
Yeah.
is about in that area, where it would be safer for
Oh,
students to
that-
cross the road to get on the other side. But we would have to put sidewalks in, because there's no sidewalks
Okay,
in.
and that would be state
Yeah, there's
sidewalks.
sidewalks up to,
That's State Route 9, so it would be state sidewalks.
I think they made the shoulder wider there for cars to pull off.
Yep, they did. But there's no existing sidewalks through there.
All right, I might go up with you, Chris, just to go over that
There-
area and see.
I'll show
there
you.
is a sidewalk
I wanna
that
make
goes
sure.
up to the last house
Yeah.
on the east side. Then there's no sidewalk between that and Dick, Ashland.
Yeah, but you're both different sides of the road,
You're going
okay?
the wrong way, I'm coming down
We're headed
Where you,
towards the
yeah,
school.
but where are you gonna put the crossing?
beyond where the post office is.
You know where the post
Yeah,
office
that's what I'm
sidewalk
talking
ends? Back
No,
there?
they're going the other way.
Oh, you're going the other, north? Oh, I
We're
thought you were
heading
going
north.
south.
No, we're heading north.
All right,
All right, I'll go up with you, Chris, and look
Yeah,
at it. I'll have to write to the state and ask them,
Okay.
because they're the ones that,
They want something like about the area where Wyatt Hazen.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
okay, now I know where.
yeah, I know, I thought you was talking about,
No, just to keep the kids away from the post office and that, because it's so dangerous to be walking through there. Even as an adult walking through there, it's dangerous at times. That's all,
Is that, okay?
yeah.
Jerry?
I don't really, the only thing I had, Buckets asked a couple times about the bridge on West Church Street,
West Shazy.
in West Chazy, there's like barricades and, is there anything going on with that, or has the county,
Haven't heard a thing. Everybody just walks around.
It's county.
it's, yeah,
I have heard nobody in the area even complain about it.
well, it's,
They just appeared one day and
yeah. The whole bridge is an eyesore.
the bridge is a county,
Yeah,
it's a county bridge. so
but they've got barricades going down the bank and,
Now, where is this?
Mhm.
And that's on, Church Street, right?
yeah.
Well, the bank is private property.
Right,
Guest puts up signs there, no
Yeah.
trespassing, because some kids used to go there trying to
yeah,
fish.
yeah,
So he didn't want anybody there, and so the county turned around and put these cones up, or somebody did.
yeah.
I wouldn't be all surprised if
I thought they
Don't know.
put it there because it was,
they appeared.
the bridge is kind of a,
Well, the
The
bridge
bridge
is
is a
in the
disaster.
best shape.
anyway. It's,
Alright, I can check with the county though and see if there's anything that's going on with it, or why there's cones there, or if they put them there, or just the property owner.
Well, they've been there a long
They,
time.
they come and check that bridge, I've seen them.
yeah, I mean,
there.
it's kind of an eyesore, it could stand to be pressure washed and painted or whatever they do to it.
I think it's just the weather has been weathered, it's a,
Yeah,
I don't think Washington's gonna change
No.
it. Might be wrong.
maybe not.
Chris?
That's it.
think we covered quite a few of the items of our past meetings, but one thing I wanted to bring up is you applauded the highway department. I want to applaud the people here in town for maintaining the sidewalks and keeping them clear for the kids walking to and from school, but we seem to have a problem with the neighbor, Fred, not wanting to keep his sidewalks clean. I see where you're having Tom keep the crosswalk clean of snow, but the sidewalk is filled in.
Well, we can write a letter to them.
I think a letter should be addressed. I mean, we have a clean sidewalk, but the sidewalk is buried with snow. So what good is to have a clear crosswalking? And if other people can do longer stretches of the road, there's no reason why you can't do that whole section right here. That's my point. That's it.
Okay, anything, Bill?
No report.
Geez, and what are we paying you for?
Tell you that you don't need to rule on his application.
Thank you, Bill, for that brief report.
Sam, thanks.
Yeah, he's very happy over there.
I mean, there's no charge for tonight, Bill?
Didn't never showed up with any of their reports.
No, I tried to report. Yes. Okay, we're gonna go on to resolutions then. And then we'll go into executive session.
Okay, first resolution you have is to accept 2011 contract with the town of Morris for shared services of dog control officer for
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
motion was made by Councilor Lattimore, seconded by Councilor Dino. Any discussion? All those in favor?
And
Yeah, we should have a roll call on this one. And whenever the resolution is involving the expenditure of money, you should have a roll call. I understood you adopted this, which is great, but we should go back to roll call when it's an expenditure of money.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, roll call. Councilor Lattimore?
Yes?
Councilor Dino?
Yes.
Councilor Devon?
Yes.
Councilor Trombley?
Yes.
Supervisor Speaker?
Yes.
Second one is the authorization of myself to attend the New York City Association of Towns meeting in February 20th.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Who made the motion? Chris. Chris. Motion made by Councilor Lattimore, seconded by Councilor Trombley. Roll call. Councilor Lattimore?
Yes?
Councilor Dino?
Yes.
Councilor Devon?
Yes.
Councilor Trombley?
Yes.
Supervisor Speaker?
Yes.
Next one is for the advance of $300 meals and other needed expenses.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Councilor Devon's made the motion, second by Councilor Lattimore. Roll call. Councilor, or any discussion first? Roll call. Councilor Lattimore?
Yes?
Councilor Dino?
Yes.
Councilor Devon?
Yes.
Councilor Trombley?
Yes.
Supervisor Speaker?
Yes.
Do we need to, nominate him for a delegate? Are you gonna go to the voting? Too late? Okay.
I wouldn't be there on Wednesday morning anyway.
Okay,
I'm taking the train leaves at
okay.
8:30 in the morning.
On a leader standing,
Resolution authorizing code enforcement officer to use general equipment type capital reserve funds subject to permissive referendum to purchase software program.
I'll make the motion.
Councilor Devon's made a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Devon's made the motion, second by Supervisor Spiegel. roll call. Counselor Lattimore,
No?
Counselor Dino,
No.
Counselor Devens,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel,
Yes.
okay, motion is carried. Next one is water rates, extended time away, unoccupied or vacant.
Can somebody explain this to me?
Yeah, when somebody, sometimes we have individuals that'll call and say, I want my water shut off, I'm going away for the winter to Florida. And then they have a concern about what am I gonna get charged for water rates? Well, if they go away and their home is still full of furniture and occupied, obviously it's just a vacation time, they have to realize that they're still gonna get O&M charges, debt service, and anything over 7,000 gallons of water, so they're gonna get the standard water rate charge. If you have a building that's vacant, like Mr. Gooley's up here on, we're next to the post office, his building is vacant now, he's trying to sell it, there's nobody occupying the building. So he advised the town to return his water off, okay? So now he's only gonna get charged debt service. I mean, the building's vacant, it's not being used, he's not gonna pay O&M charges, and he's just gonna pay basically debt charges. So we just wanna make a resolution to clarify that. So if anybody comes and says, well, you know, how does it work? We wanna make a resolution so that it's outlined.
So they basically, the building has to be vacant.
Right.
Could it read just vacant rather than extended time away, or to make it simpler? What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, and are you gonna charge to have it reconnected to? I mean, that way there would be a disincentive for people who just have it turned off or want it turned off when they're on vacation.
At the present moment, there's a $15 shut off.
Yeah, I was just
Is that
gonna
what it
ask
is?
that.
Yeah, that's all it is,
It's $15 shut off and 15
$15.
back on?
Yeah,
But,
It would be
Well,
simpler to say
yeah,
that was
Chris is right though,
vacant.
because you just have unoccupied,
Right.
and you want it just for vacant properties, right?
so I put unoccupied or vacant.
Except that the way you described it, it's just that they're vacant properties.
Right.
Because unoccupied could mean that they're gone to Florida for the
Right.
winter
For 3 or
or.
4 months.
Right.
So
Just do water rates.
I mean, like you did say, I mean, if the furniture, everything's still there,
Yeah, we know that it's
Right,
still
it's
being
still-
occupied.
well,
Well, it's still
I would
being,
just put vacant.
That's that's
I
my
would just
feeling.
leave it
so
as
leave
vacant.
unoccupied out.
Just eliminate the or.
Well, I put water rates, for vacant. Or-
Unoccupied
or-
vacant, it would be either way. Could do it, and you can eliminate unoccupied as well.
So take out unoccupied and just leave vacant, is that correct?
Yes, vacant means buildings
Right.
that they're not used.
Okay, so I guess they wanna take out the word unoccupied.
You got the word unoccupied.
Okay, so in the subheading, water rates, extended time away.
And or.
Yeah, I think we should get rid of that.
Extended
Just put
time
water
away
rates.
should come off.
Water rates for vacant
Right,
buildings.
that's what I think.
Okay, so at the head, water rates for vacant buildings, is that
There
what
you
you're gonna
go.
say?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the wording below,
And now therefore be resolved that the Chazy Town Board does hereby authorize that normal water rates will apply to residences in the water district for their extended time away, which will include water usage, debt service, and O&M charges. Debt service charges only will apply to all parcels that are
vacant,
Vacant,
unoccupied. I'll forget the
and then vacant means the building is empty or not.
there you go.
Okay,
I like that better.
I
okay,
do too.
Right.
Well, whatever.
no problem.
And there is a turn off and turn on fee.
Yes.
Do we need to put that in this motion?
Not if it's already part of the water law.
Is that in the law?
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember.
And I'll make the motion on this.
I'll second.
I'll Counselor Lattimore made the motion, seconded by Counselor Devens. Any further discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes?
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devens,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
Next one is resolution to accept a 4-year agreement with Central Station Monitoring of Fire Alarm System.
And this agreement is basically the one we have in place now for the highway department, it's just renewing. So we just wanna, basically it's renewing it,
Do we have one for the town halls?
not right now. We're looking at a couple different quotes, so. And this group, this company is one of the quotes, and we got one from NCC Systems, and then I wanna get one more too. Usually we get 3 quotes.
Do they,
But this is currently in place for the highway department, it's been in place. It's just that it renews March 1st, and the time we have our next meeting, we want to get that one. I mean, we can add to it if we add the town hall, but we just want to make sure this one keeps going.
do they periodically test that?
Well, I would assume so. I mean, I don't know, I haven't talked to
Well,
Dick.
it's been in there quite a while, like,
Yeah, I mean, they must come down and test it, make sure it's working.
I'll make the motion.
I thought you
Once or twice a
told
year.
us, yeah, I thought
What's that?
last year when this came up, Dick said they did.
Yeah, I'm
They
pretty
did.
sure they come by once or
Yeah.
twice a year.
I'll second the motion.
Who made the,
Counselor Lattimore made the motion, seconded by Counselor Devens. Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes?
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devens,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
yes,
Next one is 2010 budget transfers.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Counselor Lattimore made the motion, seconded by Counselor Dino. Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes?
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devens,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
yes.
Next one is for payment of claims.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Counselor Lattimore made the motion, seconded by Counselor Devens. Okay, roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes?
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devens,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes. Make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Counselor Lattimore made the motion, seconded by Counselor Trombley. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thanks, Ann.
And so I don't know who will get the assist on that. And we're back on. It's 5-0 Chazy.
Another goal by Kempton, and
Oh.
just falling down and just great shot.
That was their 29th shot on net. Trombley ready to check back into the game, as well as Cooper for Chazy.
Okay, what do we have for? We have 9 minutes
The
left.
Butternut Squash Award.
Well, we could probably start thinking of it now. We have Victoria Reynolds definitely in the running with
Well,
3 goals.
3 goals. You
Played
got
a strong game too, as well as getting the 3 goals. Played an extremely strong game.
Amanda-
Kaylin Lapierre,
well, look,
she's in there with a couple of assists.
she's got a couple of. She's got a goal. The first goal was Caitlin Lapierre. That beautiful
So
goal.
that could be the game winner.
But it was a game. Well, it was a game winner. There's no doubt.
So far.
You had Amanda Kempton had 2 assists.
Played a
You know.
phenomenal game in the middle. Kempton and
Oh,
control.
Austri did. Yeah.
But how about the defense? Once again, when you allow 1 shot
I know.
with 8 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game, you
And-
allow 1 shot, I'll tell you what, that defensive unit is phenomenal. Led by
They're solid.
led by Bushy back there, in the sweeper position. She sees the field, and Devin Latchemer.
First, like I say,
defense.
Devin's your stopper.
Yes.
Alexis is your sweeper. And on the wings, you got Megan and Sagan. And with those 4 out there,
They're great.
it is unbelievable. Trombley with the ball.
Trombley back in the sweeper position right now.
Pushes it right up to the open spot into Cooper's foot. So, yeah, we got to pick the Butternut Squash Award. And quite frankly, I'm not leaning one way or the other. There's,
Yeah, it's hard.
I mean, it could go to
The defense.
It could go to the defense. It could go to Victoria. It could go to Ostry.
How about we just give it to the whole team? They
No,
played great.
No,
What do you mean, no?
no,
What do you mean, no?
because
Don't say that.
that's way, you're going socialistic on me here, you know. But we don't want
Fair.
we don't want to do
It's
that.
not socialistic. There's no politics involved in this.
We don't want to do that. Okay.
This is just the team is a team. They played so well together the whole game.
But we can say that
You
every
cannot
game.
pick- But you know that.
You can
But
say
that's
it's
what.
every game.
But you know you can't really. It's hard to pick out a star because they've all played so well. That's team. That's a teamwork.
I don't dispute that, but I would not give a vote for the whole team for the Butternut Squash Award.
Of course, you know you have to be a little bit different, which you've always been, shall we say. Wait till you guys see that on Hometown Cable, that big bulbous thing on his elbow. I'm like, oh, I said, what is that? I see Joe, and he's flexing it. And that was the injury was 2 years previous to it. It's just,
How do we go from the Butternut Squash Award to something I wore 25 years ago?
because it's funny.
Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me, Joe. Okay. We got to pick somebody here. As people, I hope, as people are watching this, they know Joe and I get along pretty well up here. Oh, my God. Okay, so Butternut Squash. You know what, Joe, where I'm leaning? The defense. As a body.
Yeah, you gotta. They played extremely well.
You
The one shot that was allowed on Took was kind of
weak.
Yeah, it was. It's,
Well, let me get Sam. Who do you think Sam would?
I'm voting for the coach.
Sam's going neutral. He's voting coach. Okay.
hey, usually Calvin goes for whoever supports Hometown Cable. So that would be Emily Lapierre.
Or Joey Trombley.
There you go.
Okay. But okay, so who are you picking? I'll let you call it tonight. It's your butternut. So
I tell you what, I'm giving it to the defense, led by Lexi Bushy.
okay.
I'm gonna give it to the defense.
So the defense will win the Butternut Squash Award tonight, just for their consistent play back there. Like you say, giving up one goal.
And not just this game. This
No.
This is a
They
season.
could have gotten every game if you went just defense.
You know, yeah, and
But I think it's nice on your part to realize we should acknowledge the defense because
you definitely won't.
I just
You know?
did.
Well, normally you don't. You always give it to whoever
You-
scored 3 or 4 goals. Which is, hey, believe me, it's hard enough to do. Victoria Reynolds.
She played a phenomenal game.
And she's gonna have.
But you just embarrassed me into doing it, so I did it. Okay, I mean, you got
That's a first.
Sam. He got his way again. Because if we don't give Joe his way, it's going to be brutal till the next time we get together.
I'll take my butternut squashes away. I'll go home and play with them by
Joe's going to take his butternut squashes away. Okay, we have 4:43. I guess we've been silly enough here for the last. We're trying to kill time because it's 5-0, but it's the Eagles coming back up again, and defensively, Willsboro's trying to clear it out, but there's just too much offensive firepower for the Warriors to contain with tonight with the
Yeah,
Eagles.
they didn't want to get in the shootout with Chazy tonight. They tried to keep it.
Well, they did come out. They did come out on fire,
They come out their lines.
being aggressive.
tonight.
Yes, they did.
I saw them last year in the championship game, and they literally conceded 2/3 of the field.
Well,
the whole game.
Coach Hooper told you up here. He goes, "You can't come into a game and get into a shootout with you
No,
guys."
it's just not gonna happen.
And to Willsboro's credit, they came out to play. I mean,
They really did.
not to go in a defensive shell. They tried to go toe-to-toe with the Eagles tonight. But there's just too much talent out here, defensively and offensively, with the Chazy team this year. And you brought up a good point. Last year, I mean, we lost some phenomenal players.
Yeah, but that was a nice play by Keeble over there in the defensive end to get that ball out too. Good move. Yeah, they did, but it's just these ladies have stepped right into it and they haven't missed a beat. It's like, how are they going to be without the phenomenal Bridget Dow?
Bridget Dow, right?
And Madeline Gay.
But look who stepped up, Alexis Bushy.
Big time.
Madeline Gay, she's gone. Who steps up? Devin Latchmore.
Kempton.
Kempton. Megan
Very
Ryan's
nice
gone.
one.
Who comes in? Sagan Trombley.
There you go.
So, I mean, you have players on the wing. I mean, Sandra O's came into her own this year.
Yes, she has.
Very aggressive, playing hard. You have Emily Lapierre out there who's doing a nice job for him this year.
Victoria Reynolds is tearing them up.
She's
just what a player to watch. Just a fun player to
this
watch.
could be dangerous.
And Megan Reynolds playing well again on the defense.
Megan is just phenomenal back there. And Willsboro trying to get an offensive run going here with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. But I'll say like you, Willsboro and Chazy they will meet again in the playoffs.
You never know, but it looks like that's the way it's going to.
I mean, barring any upsets.
Yeah, injury, sickness, these things do happen. So
Yeah, they do, as we well know this year, on the boys and girls side with injuries
Like I said,
and sickness.
hopefully no disciplinary issues.
Yeah.
With teams, and those things do happen also. So there's a lot of parameters that go into it.
And we know that here too. And there's Victoria Reynolds. This is dangerous. And Victoria, no, that's Megan.
It is Megan Reynolds.
Megan Reynolds gets on the board.
Good for her. It's nice to get, Coach Trombley putting the defense up there to go and get a little glory in the paper tomorrow too.
Okay, we're back after the goal here by Megan Reynolds, and that's Victoria's sister. As Victoria Reynolds has a hat trick, Megan Reynolds has a goal. So the Reynolds sisters have made an impact tonight, as well as all the players have.
That's great. They're playing really, really well, these ladies. They haven't, the only competition they had in their division in the MVAC has been Willsboro. They were slaughtered tonight. Let's put it that way. I mean,
They were.
Willsboro was just. The Eagles came out to play tonight.
Well, I think the girls were, they take that to heart that Willsboro had scored the only goal on them, that it went to overtime. They don't feel it should have went to overtime. Chazy did dominate down in Willsboro. And it's also tonight, the Mickey Fries were flying over there tonight out of there.
Hey, I see there's a sign over there now. It's
almost
over 1,000 pounds sold.
Oh,
Not this year?
No, just this year. 1.2 tons so far.
Not tons. Pounds.
Pounds, yeah, pounds. Okay. It's going to, oh, geez. It's going to be a ton and 800 more pounds.
Thank you, Joey.
Joe, I did the math.
It's an educated guess.
I did the math on that one. I couldn't get from 8 to 12, but I got 1,200 to 2,000.
Good job, baby. Yeah, we're with you.
A hamburger for me today. I need a hamburger today.
Coach is down below. She says she needs a hamburger. She just got done chewing an apple. So she's going from healthy. Well, it could be prime beef over there, though.
Nothing but the finest.
Nothing but the finest. And compliments to the people inside the little snack shack.
Tim Halley, Kim Halley, anybody, all the volunteers.
Tim Ryan, Mickey Kahn doing the fries over there.
Every night.
Greg Boris. You have
Greg Boris, too.
tonight. You have
Lisa Boris is over there.
yeah. You have Rob Ware with his daughter there. Of course, they play for Chazy Soccer, and so you have a lot of hockey parents come in and help out too, which is nice.
Helps both our organizations. Well, Joey, you can wrap it up.
Well, I will, Joe. Chazy, it is the 1st of October 2009, and Chazy, in a very dominating performance, take out their chief rival, the Willsboro Warriors, 6-0, and the girls' defense will be given the Butternut Squash Award. The shots on net were a phenomenal 34-2 in favor of Chazy. So again, a dominating performance from the Eagles. It was Willsboro who has the only goal against Chazy, and that was 8.1 seconds left in the game down in Willsboro. So Chazy was looking forward to this game, and they did not let themselves down, or the fans, or their coach down. So as Sam and Alvin like to say, that's the way it was in beautiful downtown Chazy.
But the Eagles kept their composure, started playing their game, and
because with that 1-0 lead, Chateauguay would have went into a shell.
Yeah, they're starting to push now and stuff. So
Oh, it's chippy. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
Well, there's 20 seconds left, so it's coming to an end.
who made up that word chippy? We used to call it dirty play.
Well, being politically correct in today's world, there, Joe.
Yeah.
We're in the final 10 seconds here, and Chazy will win this game here, this non-league game, playing one of the top teams in Section 10, the Chateauguay Bulldogs, and Chazy will win 3-0. And it is September 12th, and yes, we have to do the Butternut Squash Award, but it is September 12th here at the George Brendler Field, and it is the Butternut Squash Award time, Joe, and who do you think?
Well, I'm going to have to give mine to the two assists that Lauren had.
I have to agree with you on that, and the 8th grader, Brandon Lauren, will get the first, for the boys, the first official butternut squash award. We're kind of doing this in what John Madden does for football, giving out the turkey award for the holidays, and it's fall season, and Joe has had an abundant supply of butternut squash in his garden, so we call it the Butternut Squash Award for the player